Hare Krishna, welcome to the Bhagavad Gita class. Today is the first Bhagavad Gita class of this year in the Kartik month. So very auspicious month of Kartik. And please recite the Damodar Ashtakam every day. You can Google for Damodar Ashtakam. It is a prayer to Lord Krishna in his Damodar form, where Mother Yashoda tied him to the okhli or the mortar. So any picture of Lord Krishna being tied to the mortar is the Damodar form with a rope. He has been tied. And offer a lamp to that picture of Lord Damodar. A ghee lamp or any kind of lamp. Very auspicious for this month, entire month of Kartik, and sing the Damodar Ashtakam. Let's start with our Bhagavad Gita class without further ado. Thank you very much. So we will start with the recitation of Mangalacharan prayers. Let me share the screen. And based on feedback that I'm getting, I think it is, I also went and listened to the recording. You can recite the Mangalacharan prayers, but on mute. Let me recite on the Zoom, and you also recite, but keep your microphone muted. Om Ajnanatimirandhasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupah Kadamahyam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yutah Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadhutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhan Vitamscha Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Preshthaya Bhutale Shrimati Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Desha Tarine He Krishna Karuna Sindho Dinabandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vanchakalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shrivas Adi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare Hare. Srimad Bhagavad Gita ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Gaura Bhakta Vrinda ki jai. All right, so now we will go into chapter 12. So before we start chapter 12, I want to, like always, give an introduction to chapter 12 and how we get into chapter 12, what is the sequence from chapter 11, and give some background so that you can understand chapter 12. Just some regular requests to all of you. If possible, turn on your videos. It is good for me. I feel more personal, and it is good for you. It allows you, as I have heard, and as my personal experience when I'm a participant in the classes, helps me to focus instead of, doing this and that and multitasking. And today's class will be 1 hour long. So because this whole month of Kartik, which means 4 Fridays, so just these 4 classes will be 1 hour long each, because we are doing outreach programs every day pretty much. So today also. So after finishing this class, we are going somewhere to share the summary of Bhagavad Gita, Srimad Bhagavatam with new people, so that they can take advantage of these instructions of the Lord and apply it in their lives. So every month, Kartik, we like to do that. All right. Chapter 12. So where is the screen sharing? Okay, good. You can see the screen. Very good. Thank you. Okay, great. So we are starting chapter 12 of Bhagavad Gita. So what is chapter 12? The title of chapter 12 is Bhakti Yoga or devotional service. And as you can imagine, a very, very important chapter of the Bhagavad Gita. Bhagavad Gita is divided into 3 sections, 1 to 6, 7 to 12, and 13 to 18. 1 to 6 is bhakti mixed with karma. 7 to 12 is talking about Shuddha Bhakti in general. And 13 to 18 is talking about Bhakti mixed with Jnana. So right now, we are still in this second section, and it is talking about Shuddha Bhakti, or Bhakti that is not mixed with anything. And within this 7 to 12, chapter 12 is exclusively devoted to Bhakti, because here Lord is giving the final conclusion of Bhakti being the highest. So Bhakti being greater than Jnana or Karma or any other processes. So Bhakti being greater than all of these. That is the final conclusion of this chapter. So we will see how we come to this point. Okay. So as you can see, the entire Bhagavad Gita, there is Bhakti here, and Bhakti here. So all of Bhagavad Gita is about Bhakti Yoga. So it is not that Bhagavad Gita is giving a mixed message. It is giving a very consistent message. But it is giving it in light of Jnana and Karma in the chapters, but it says that Bhakti is the topmost. So Bhakti is everywhere in the Bhagavad Gita. Okay. Now, the link between chapter 11 and chapter 12. How did we come to this chapter? So chapter 12 is going to start with a question by Arjuna. That will be in 12.1. So Arjuna wants to ask a question. And why he wants to ask this question? So what has happened in chapter 11? So chapter 11 background. In chapter 11, what did we see? The universal form. Then we saw Lord's four-handed form. And then Lord came back to his two-handed form. And Lord Krishna very clearly said that this personal form, which we can refer to both of these as being very, very, very much more higher and more significant, more important than the universal form. Okay. And within these two itself, the two-handed form, which is, let me just put it this way. This is Krishna. And this is Vishnu. Within these two, the Krishna form is more personal. It's more rarer to see. Just like meeting the president as a friend or as a family member is more rarer than seeing him in the office. We as a citizen, I know some children go to the White House. When they go to Washington, D.C., they go to the White House as a tour. So tours are arranged. Once in a while, once in a year, they may bump into the president. But the tour is only given on the West Wing. The White House in the United States has a West Wing and an East Wing. East Wing are his private quarters. No tour goes there. Only tours of the White House are limited to West Wing. And once in a year or once in, I don't know, whenever, very rare, you may bump into the president. Oh, there's the president going, or he may even come and shake hands with the children, but never in the East Wing. So that is the point being conveyed here. However, what Arjuna wants to know that, oh, there is a hierarchy. So there is the universal form. So before this, we had also discussed the demigods, the Devis and Devatas. So there are the demigods, then there is universal form, and then there is personal form. And this is in this order. The personal form is the highest. Arjuna is thinking, is there something here? This is the crux of the question. Is the personal form highest? Have I reached the limit? Or is there something beyond that? And in this whole thing, there is one aspect remaining, which is the impersonal form. And the name of that impersonal form is Brahman, also known as Brahma Jyoti. Where does that fit in this spectrum? So this has been discussed in some detail. First of all, is there something greater? And is that something greater the Brahman, the impersonal Brahman? So Arjuna wants to get this clarification. Now, Lord Krishna had already, just to link back, and for those who are very seriously studying Bhagavad Gita, and I don't blame you, when I studied Bhagavad Gita, I was also all over the place. Everything was mixed up. Bhagavad Gita is a little bit of a deep scripture. All the acharyas, any bona fide sampradaya, writes commentaries or is expected to write commentaries on three very, very important scriptures. They are, number one, Bhagavad Gita. Number two, the Mukhya Upanishads, of which there are 11. And number three is the Vedanta, or the Brahma Sutras. So Bhagavad Gita here, as you can see, is one of the most fundamental pillars of understanding the Hindu philosophy, or what we call as the Sanatana Dharma. So I can totally understand if things are a little complicated. You may have forgotten what we have discussed before. So there was this verse 9.15, where Lord Krishna had described the whole spectrum: pure devotees, asuras, and then three other aspects in the middle: ekatvena, prithaktvena, and prithaktvena bahudha, and vishwato mukham. So just to link it back, what we are going to talk about now is the ekatvena. And Lord Krishna had already, this is the impersonal aspect, the impersonal Brahman. And Lord Krishna had already said that pure devotees, those who worship my personal form, my pure devotees, are the highest. Then there are three levels in between: ekatvena, prithaktvena bahudha, and vishwato mukham. So already Lord Krishna has told who is the highest. but still Arjuna is asking to get direct confirmation, absolute direct confirmation, so that there is absolutely no doubt remaining. And also because Arjun knows, and Lord Krishna knows, or Arjun knows through the medium or through the power or the blessing of Lord Krishna, that this topic of impersonal Brahman will become very prominent as Kali Yuga progresses. So there is a whole section of chapter 12 that is dedicated to this topic. So this first section of chapter 12 is divided into 3 sections. We will not go into that right now. The first section is 12.1 to 12.7. These 7 verses are dedicated to very, very clearly establishing that the personal form of Lord Krishna as Bhagawan is greater than the impersonal. There is no form here because it is formless. The impersonal, we will say, conception or understanding, which is known as Brahman or Brahma Jyoti. So that is the purpose of these 7 verses, to establish that this is greater than this. The left-hand side, Bhagavan, is superior to the right-hand side, Brahman. So let us quickly talk about what are these. We have talked about it a little bit before, but Bhagavan is the Bhagavan form. There's not much to say. Krishna, Rama, Narayana, Vishnu, Narsingha, all these forms where we see the Lord, or we can see the Lord performing activities, performing leelas, interacting with devotees, is the personal Bhagavan form. The impersonal form is the Brahman or the Brahma Jyoti. And so let us go into a little bit of this understanding that this is basically the spiritual effulgence or the jyoti coming from Bhagavan. So you can think of it as the energy, the light. Now this is all spiritual. All these words that we are talking, energy, light, effulgence, they are all in the material realm. So there is no good way of describing it in words. All you can do is experience it. And once you experience that, you are already self-realized and already liberated. But we are trying to just describe it using some material words. So effulgence, light, energy, all these are reasonable words as descriptions of what is Brahman, but they are all coming from Bhagavan. Bhagavan is the source. And this effulgence, this energy that is coming out, is the effect. It is not the source. Okay? So please understand this very clearly. And where is it said in Bhagavad Gita? That this is coming from Bhagavan. This is said in Bhagavad Gita 14.27, where Lord Krishna says, Brahmano hi pratishtha aham. Pratishtha means what? Pratishtha in Sanskrit has 2 meanings. One is prestige, pratishtha. Are you following? There is a second meaning of pratishtha. Pratishtha means the basis,
establish,
the source. Okay. So if we see here in Bhagavad Gita 14.27, kindly mute yourself. There is some fan noise. Brahmano hi pratishtha aham. You can see. So Lord Krishna is saying that I am the pratishtha. Not doesn't mean prestige in this context. It means the source. or the foundation. So I am the source, or I am the foundation from which Brahman comes, which means Bhagawan is the source, and from Bhagawan, Brahman is coming out. Okay, so that is why we are saying that this Brahman is the effulgence, light, or energy coming from Bhagawan. So that is Brahman. That is how much we will talk about Brahman. So now let us talk about those who are engaged. We will talk about two processes here. Those who are, please pay very careful attention. This is a little bit of a philosophical point that we are going to go through over the next 10 more minutes. And this is important because some of you, many of you may explore other paths other than bhakti. Maybe some of you are already exploring. Maybe you will go sit in some class of Bhagavad Gita or some spiritual class which is focused on jnana or this Brahman aspect, and they will say, oh, Brahman is the highest. Oh, yes, we know all these Hare Krishna people and Srila Prabhupada and ISKCON, they keep talking about bhakti and Bhagawan, but that is not correct. That is wrong. Brahman is the highest. We are telling you the right thing. Then you should have the proper understanding and be able to, at least in your mind, don't stand up and argue. No point. Okay. But in your mind, you are clear what is the correct understanding directly from the verses of Bhagavad Gita itself. Lord Krishna has very clearly solved this puzzle. He has very clearly explained which is higher. So you should have no doubt about this. And you might go into, this is a very, very common understanding among many groups, that Brahman is the highest. So this section of Bhagavad Gita will prevent you from getting a wrong understanding from such kind of association. Therefore, it is very important to choose what kind of even spiritual association you take, so that you do not get a wrong understanding. Okay, so that is the purpose of this section. But if you are fully convinced bhakti of Bhagavan is the highest, what is all this Brahman nonsense that Prabhuji is talking about, then maybe today's class is not very useful for you. It is a waste of time. If you are already convinced, fully convinced about bhakti, but still you can take, relishment out of the understanding that, yes, my understanding is correct. And Prabhuji today is talking about or re-emphasizing that my understanding is correct. So that can be your benefit if you are already convinced. Okay, so that is the purpose of today's class. So there are two processes. So we have discussed, by the way, what is Brahman, what is Bhagavan. Now, the process of jnana, in Sanskrit, we'll write it like jnana. Okay, like this, jnana, and then bhakti. Okay. So the result of jnana, when goes through the process of jnana, is Brahman realization, or the Brahman. And one goes through this, then one is achieving. This is the result, and this is the process. So one who follows the process of jnana gets the result of Brahman realization, which means he realizes, this is Brahman. I can see the effulgence of the Lord. I am within the effulgence of the Lord. I am in that spiritual energy. I have quit the material world and I am in the spiritual energy. A quick diagram or a picture way of showing it is like this, that this is the spiritual world and this is the material world. And let's say Bhagavan is here. His energy is coming out everywhere. So Brahman, this is Brahman, is coming out everywhere. So right now here, there is Brahman. We cannot perceive it, but it is right here. In front of you, Brahman is there. You cannot see it. You cannot feel it or perceive it. some devotees, or that just give an example, for example, like neutrinos. Again, I don't want to get into too much science. Neutrinos are everywhere. We cannot see it, we cannot perceive them, but they are there in the trillions and zillions right now, flowing through you. So analogy, it's just an analogy. I'm not saying neutrinos are Brahman, but in that same understanding, you can say that Brahman is everywhere. Now, those who get the Brahman realization, what do I mean by Brahman realization? It means that those souls, those jivas, they quit the material world and they come into this Brahman or Brahma jyoti in this area, which means they have left the material world and they are enjoying bliss. They are enjoying this freedom from the entanglement of the material world. No more death, no more disease, no more misery. And they are in this spiritual effulgence of the Lord, but they have not yet gone into the spiritual world. They are in this middle area between the spiritual world and the material world. So this is the destination. This is the result of Jnana Yoga and what we also call as Brahman realization. Through bhakti or through Bhagawan, one goes from the, so this is, I will just say this is the Brahman realization. Through bhakti, one goes here to the spiritual world. This is bhakti. And there are many, many spiritual planets, Vaikuntha planets they are called, in the spiritual world, like Dwarka Dham, Ayodhya Dham, Golok Dham, and many, many trillions and trillions of such spiritual planets. And then you go and live on one of those spiritual planets in the spiritual world as a result of bhakti. In both cases, you are leaving the material world. That is why both are called liberation. Liberation means liberated from what? Liberated from the miseries, the birth, death, disease, old age, all these problems of the material world. You are no longer going to suffer. You get liberated from that. Okay, so that is the result. Now, those who are processing or following Jnana path, they can fall into two categories. Okay, one is the Mayavadi category and one is the Brahmavadi category. Okay, both those who are following the Jnana path. This Mayavad category is the incorrect one, incorrect way of following the Jnana path. Brahmavad category is the correct way of following the Jnana path. Okay, both of these are, now this has, in the Shastras, if you take any Shastra, none of the Shastras why will it propagate the wrong theory? So this is not present in any of the Shastras. This is a misunderstanding, or in some cases, a corrupt understanding, consciously corrupted understanding of the Brahmavad category. So let me explain the difference between the two. Okay. So we will take the Mayavadi or Mayavadi Jnana Yogi. And we will talk about Brahmavadi Jnana Yogi. Let us talk about compare these two. All right. Now, the very, very important differences you will see between the two. The first difference is one considers Brahman to be superior to Bhagawan. Whereas in the Brahmavadi case, either they don't know about Bhagavan, okay, or don't know about Bhagavan in detail, which means they may know some, or we can say very little knowledge of Bhagavan. So either they don't know or they have very little knowledge of Bhagavan, very little, superficial. So they cannot do a comparison between Bhagavan and Brahman. But Mayavadis definitely consider Brahman to be superior than Bhagavan. They call the Bhagavan form as a material form, or in other words, this is Brahman, which is contaminated by matter. Brahman, which has been contaminated by matter, is equal to Bhagavan. Therefore, there is an element of materialism in Bhagavan. So when you downgrade Brahman, so to say, it becomes Bhagavan. They have this thing, and therefore Brahman is superior than Bhagavan. You can see sort of the link there. The Brahmavadis, either they don't know about Bhagavan, then there is no comparison at all. If they know about Bhagavan, they say Bhagavan is superior to Brahman. They acknowledge that. Yet they are attached to Brahman. And Adi Shankaracharya is very much in this category. I have read his commentary on Bhagavad Gita, Adi Shankaracharya's category. He says Bhagavan is the superior, but we will follow the Brahman Jnana path. No problem. It is like some child, in some families it happens that the child is more attached to his uncle than his father. Has it happened in some cases? The child is more attached to his uncle. Now one can imagine, one can ask, why is the child more attached to his uncle? He has a father. The father is not dead, right? He's alive, very much there, but somehow the child is more attached. It's okay. There is nothing wrong in it. All right. So there is nothing wrong in it. They are attached to Brahman. Fine, they are attached, but they are not saying that Brahman is superior or God or Bhagavan is inferior, which means that they are not offensive to Bhagavan or bhaktas or devotees of Bhagavan. Whereas in this case, they are offensive to Bhagavan. And by extension, very soon, they are offensive to devotees. They blaspheme devotees. They criticize devotees. They will disrespect devotees of Bhagavan. And that is the biggest problem. And because of this, what happens is that in the destination of a Brahmavadi Jnana Yogi is Brahman realization. We already discussed this. He attains liberation. This is liberation. Liberation from material world. So great. But the destination of these is lower species. They go down in their spiritual journey. They don't go up, they go down. That is the problem. Because of their offense to devotees, the Lord does not take offense to himself. He is, he doesn't care. But very soon, those who offend Bhagawan, they cannot tolerate the devotees either, who are devotees of Bhagawan. Because of their devotion to Bhagawan, they commit disrespect or offense to the devotees, and that becomes their doomsday, whatever cause of their fall down. So I am putting all of this in one screen so that you can see Mayavadi Jnana Yogi, Brahmavadi Jnana Yogi. So therefore, this is an invalid process. It is not mentioned anywhere in the Shastra. Whereas this is a valid process. The Brahmavadi Jnana Yogis, they are definitely valid. And what is being compared in chapter 12? Which one of the two is being compared to Bhakta or a Bhakti Yogi in chapter 12? The left hand or the right hand?
Right hand.
Left hand.
Very nice.
Right hand. Right hand.
Yes, yes, very nice. So, chapter number 12 is dealing with the right hand process and saying that this right hand, this Brahmavadi Jnana Yogis, are inferior to Bhaktas. Bhakti is the highest, and this one, kindly, some of you, one of you mute, whoever. So chapter 12 is talking about the Brahmavadis process. And therefore, Lord Krishna will very much say that it is a valid process. It is valid, but is not recommended. It is definitely valid. On the other hand, I just want to mention here, I forgot, that the devotees of the Lord are not offensive, are not disrespectful of anyone. Both these cases, they are very compassionate and kind to both. Of course, the Brahmavadis are also kind and compassionate to both, to the Mayavadis as well as to Bhaktas. But the Mayavadis are offensive to the Bhaktas. So, as devotees, as Bhaktas, we should never look down upon anybody. And this is going to be a big part of chapter 12. Bhakti does not just mean bhakti to Bhagawan, but it also comes with compassion, kindness, and love for all the other children of Bhagawan, which is all the living beings. Okay, so we cannot just be devoted to Bhagawan, but disrespect everybody else. Then Bhagawan does not like that. Okay, so chapter 12, it's a comparison between this Brahmavadi Jnana Yogis and Bhaktas. This is chapter 12. Okay, have you followed clearly? What is chapter 12 a comparison between? So I have set up the comparison, the two objects of comparison of chapter 12. So what is that? The process of bhakti versus process of Jnana Brahmavada. The Brahmavad form of Jnana, not the Mayavad form, because it is corrupted. It is not even mentioned anywhere in Shastra. Okay, so this is chapter 12. So let us look at chapter or verse number 1. This is the question by Arjuna. And here he will call this process as the upasana or worship of avyakta. This word avyakta is very important. Avyakta means unmanifest, or that we cannot see, that we cannot interact with. So there is no interaction or there is no relationship. Whereas with bhakti, it is the vyakta form. It is the present form, the form that is present. If we have spiritual eyes, if we have the right devotion, we can see Bhagavan. How much ever devotion you may have towards Brahman, you cannot see Brahman. You can only experience it, but cannot see. Bhagavan you can see, and therefore you can have a relationship. What is known as sambandha. You can have a relationship with Bhagavan. So these two words, avyakta and vyakta, are very important. And Lord Krishna had already discussed this in few places earlier. One of the places where he discussed it was 7.24 and 7.25, just as a reference. So you can see that. Okay. So 12.1. So let us go through this verse. Evam satata yukta ye bhaktas tvam paryupasate ye chapi aksharam avyaktam tesham ke yoga vittamaha. So the translation by Srila Prabhupada is, Arjuna inquired, which are considered to be more perfect? Tesham, if you see the last line, Tesham ke yoga vittamaha. Konsa, ke means konsa. Tesham means between the two, and I will show you where it is there in the verse. Yoga vittamaha means who is more superior in the process of yoga. One who is worshipping the impersonal or personal. So the personal one is evam satata yukta ye bhaktas tvam paryupasate. The first line, A and B. So 12.1 A and B is talking about bhakta. Evam satata yukta ye, always engaged. Satata yukta, we have seen this word satata yukta before also. Bhakta tvam paryupasate. Tvam means to you, your personal form. Who is he talking to right now? Arjuna is talking to Bhagavan, who is standing in front of him. Tvam paryupasate. He's doing your worship. Paryupasate. Che ye cha api aksharam avyaktam. The akshar. Now you can see the akshar means the transcendental sound. Akshara. Avyaktam. Can you see sound? You cannot see. Akshara. What is the beyond the senses? None of your, now we call it sound, which means your ear can hear, but akshara is the referring to the Brahman, and it is avyaktam. Avyakta means unmanifested, not present. Ye cha api aksharam avyaktam. Between these two, so 12.1c is talking about the Jnana Yogi. Jnana Yoga, or the Brahman form. Between these two, who is the higher, the better worshipper? Okay, clear? Now, Lord Krishna does not give a confusing answer, roundabout answer to confuse the student. Why will a good teacher give a confusing answer? He does not. If you go ask some of these people, those who are the Mayavadis especially, who want to misinterpret Bhagavad Gita to give you a wrong interpretation, they will come up with all kinds of confusing interpretations of what Lord Krishna is saying very clearly. I don't know how they do that. That's an art. To complicate a simple thing. To present in a complicated manner, which has been presented already in a simple manner. So that is cheating. So in any case, I want to show that Arjuna has directly asked this question. There is no ambiguity in the question, and there is no ambiguity in the answer. So 12.2, Lord Krishna is clearly answering who is better. Yoga vittamaha. Vittamaha means better or superior. It is a transformation of the word uttamaha. Yoga uttama. Uttama, vi uttama becomes vittamaha. Who is the most superior or the most perfect? So in 12.2, Lord Krishna directly is saying, Mai aveshya mano ye mam nitya yukta upasate shraddhaya parayopetas te me yukta tamo matah. So yukta tamo matah. So yukta tamo matah. In Lord Krishna is saying, my opinion is, and Lord Krishna's opinion is all that matters. So matah means are considered, or in as I say. So Lord Krishna is saying. So here Bhagavad Gita, we have to trust Lord Krishna's words. Now some people can say, oh, this is all Veda Vyas has written like this. But we have to go to some other scripture, by the way, or some Upanishads, or some Vedanta Sutras, and see, here is that interpretation. You should ask them, wait a minute, who has written or compiled all the Upanishads and Vedanta Sutra? Also Veda Vyas. Veda Vyas is the only writer of basically everything. So how can you pitch Veda Vyas against Veda Vyas? You cannot. So you have to take all of those. So we are right now going through the Isha Upanishad in our Saturday classes. So there we are showing how Veda Vyas, in one of the topmost Upanishads, which is Isha Upanishad, how he is establishing the superiority of Bhagawan. The name itself is Isha Upanishad, the Upanishad of Ishvara. Isha is the short form of Ishvara. So nowhere it has been mentioned. But because you are reading Bhagavad Gita, if you point out these verses where it is so clear, they will point somewhere else. No, not here, over there. Then you should go over there and show them also. But you should have the knowledge of the Upanishads, of the Vedanta Sutra to do that. But anyway, we will talk about Bhagavad Gita. So in Bhagavad Gita, Lord Krishna is very clearly saying, Mai avesha mano ye mam nitya yukta upasate shraddhaya parayopetas te me yukta tamo matah. Yukta tamo matah. This is a very important word. Yukta tamo matah. This yukta tama. Tama means highest, or there are three levels. Just we can say yukta, yukta tara, and yukta tama. This is like level 1, 2, 3, or we can put it like this: 3, 2, 1. 1 meaning highest. Tama means highest. In 18th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, you will see the word Guhya, Guhya Tara, Guhya Tama. So whenever the word Tama means, it is most, or topmost, we can say, or highest. That is the Sanskrit I'm telling you. So here, Yukta Tama is a very important word. Means this is the highest, Yukta Tama. And what is he saying is Yukta Tama? Mai aveshya mano ye mam. What that means is those who man means what? Mind. Your mind and heart, man. Mai aveshya, who put that mind in me, mai, me. This is talking about bhakti. Mai aveshya mano ye mam nitya yukta upasate, always are worshipping me. Shraddhaya parayopetas, with Shraddha they are endowed with worshipping me. Parayopetas, always they are considering putting their mind in me, in that transcendental form of me. Parayopetas, they are the highest. He's talking about himself at this point. So one point I wanted to clarify here, there is some people here, they always are talking about guna and nirguna. This nirguna word somehow captivates their mind. Nirguna, so guna means material quality. Nirguna means no material quality. Okay. So both Bhagawan and Brahman are nirguna because they are not material. You and I have material qualities, so we are saguna, with guna. Nirguna means no material quality. So this parayopetash means the one that does not have any material qualities beyond material conception. So no material qualities is being referred to here. It is transcendental. It is not material, but it is the Bhagawan form, because Lord Krishna is saying, Mayavadi manoye mam. Those who are putting their mind on me. Okay, so verse number 12.2, Lord Krishna is saying this is tamo or tama, means this is the topmost. And this 12.2 is talking about the Bhagavan form. So very clearly he is answering Bhagavan is the topmost. Then 12.3 and 12.4 are together. In this, Lord Krishna is praising the Brahman process or the Jnana process that leads to Brahman. He's praising it. What he's basically saying, it is valid. It is valid. There is no problem in that. That it is, or there is a problem which he will talk about in 12.5. He will talk about a lot of problems. So 12.5 is one of the very, very, very important verses. We will come there. But in 12.3 and 12.4, he is talking about the validity of the Jnana or the Brahman process. So let us see 12.3 and 12.4. So in interest of time, we have 10 minutes left for today. We will read the English translation, 12.3 and 12.4. But those who fully worship the unmanifested, I'm just so tempted to read the Sanskrit here. Ye tva aksharam anirdeshyam avyaktam paryupasate. So, ye tu means but, which means there is a clear demarcation. The two words means but, or you can call it a versus. This versus that. So Lord Krishna is drawing a line, which means 12.2 was talking about something. Ye tva means but, those who do something else, versus, but aksharam anirdeshyam avyaktam paryupasate. The word paryupasate is common. So in the previous word, it was nitya yukta upasate to mayavadi manoye mam. Those who put their mind in me and always worship me, upasana. Here there is upasate or paryupasate of the Brahman, which is being described by three attributes. Aksharam, anirdeshyam, avyaktam. Again, the same word avyaktam is coming as Arjuna had asked in the question. There is no doubt about this. That Arjuna asked about bhakti and avyakta. Bhakti to Bhagawan, to tvam, to you, and to avyakta. Lord Krishna is talking about that avyakta in 12.3 and 4. Just read the Sanskrit and it is so easy. So it is aksharam. It is beyond the perception of the senses. Anirdeshyam, no limit. It is unbound. It's infinite. And avyaktam, unmanifest. That particular form, in the first verse, he talks about 6 qualities or 6 characteristics of that, 6 attributes of that. What are they? So the Sanskrit says, Sarvagatam achintyam cha kuthastham achalam dhruvam. So 5, not 6. Sarvatram means all pervading. Achintyam, inconceivable. Kutastham, unchanging. Achalam, immovable. And dhruvam, fixed, like dhruva star, dhruvatara. It is fixed in the sky. So dhruvam means fixed. So these are the characteristics of Brahman. These are all spiritual characteristics. Sarvatragam, achintyam cha kutastham achalam dhruvam. So in 12.3, Lord Krishna is saying what? He is describing Brahman. It is this unmanifested understanding, or the unmanifested, the effulgence, the energy of the Lord. So the translation is, but those who fully worship the unmanifested, that which lies beyond the perception of the senses, the all-pervading, which is sarvatragam, inconceivable, achintyam, unchanging, kutastham, fixed and immovable, dhruvam and achalam. The impersonal conception of the absolute truth that Srila Prabhupada is adding. By controlling the various senses and being equally disposed to everyone, such persons are engaged in the welfare of all and at last achieve me. The last line is, te prapnuvanti mameva. They also come to me. Prapnuvanti means to attain. Mam, they come to me. Yes, that is a valid process. They come to me. There is a verse which is very important, which links to this, to 12.4, which is 7.19, where Lord Krishna says, Bahunam janmana gante jnanavan mam prapadyate vasudeva sarvamiti sa mahatma sudurlabha. The process of, and we have discussed this in detail when we discussed 7th chapter, 19th verse. All these jnanis, jnanavan, that word right there is there, jnanis, the jnanavan. How they ultimately come to Krishna? They ultimately come to Krishna when they get the Brahman realization, then they do bhakti. So from Brahman, so from a jnani, they get liberated and they come to Brahman, and then they do bhakti, and then they attain Bhagawan. So even in Brahman state, you can do bhakti. Where is this mentioned in Bhagavad Gita? Very, very important verse, 18.54. What does 18.54 say? Starts with Brahma bhuta prasannatma na shochati na kankshati sammah sarva bhuteshu mad bhaktim labhate param. So Brahma bhuta prasannatma, one who has attained this Brahman realization, Brahma bhuta prasannatma, he is very happy. Na shochati na kankshati, he has no desires, he has no lamentations. Sammah sarva bhuteshu, he is equal to all living entities. Mad bhaktim labhate param. Labhate, very important word. He attains my bhakti. So this Brahman realized person does bhakti and finally attains Bhagawan. So that is what Lord Krishna is mentioning in the 4th verse, when he says, Te prapnuvanti mameva sarva bhuta hite rataha. So ultimately they come to me. Are you following what I'm saying? Ultimately, such people come to Krishna. But Lord is saying that that is a valid process. Because why it is valid? Because it is taking you towards Krishna. It is not taking you away from Krishna. So it is valid. But now let us talk about the speed. So we will go a little bit over 7 o'clock. I am on a time crunch. So I will go through this quickly. Perhaps we will go in detail next week. So, but it is important to come to a logical sort of a milestone today. So in 12.5, Lord Krishna is talking about the speed or the troubles. What he is saying, in the process of bhakti, what happens? The bhakta directly attains Bhagavan. But a jnani, what happens to a jnani? He gets the Brahman realization and then attains Bhagavan. This process is very fast. This process is extremely slow. This one is also fast. But if you are a bhakta versus you are a jnani, the point is you are on a fast track and it's very, very slow plus troublesome. It's a troublesome process. So what is Lord Krishna saying effectively? Which one is better? He's not clearly saying in this 12.5 which is better, but we all know troublesome is better than easy. There is no only a child, even a child will agree that something which is troublesome is, to be avoided, and one which is easy is to be accepted. That is what Lord Krishna is saying here. So let us see this. Klesho adhikatarastesham avyakta asakta chetasam. Avyakta hi gatir dukkham. 2 times the word avyakta is coming. The same word which was in 12.1, 12.3, 12.5. Same word avyakta. 12.1, Arjuna asked the question, this avyakta form. 12.3, Lord Krishna says, I am telling you the details of avyakta. And 12.5, he's saying, klesho adhikatarastesham. You all understand klesha? Anybody wants klesha in this world?
No.
Anybody wants klesha? No. So you all understand what is klesha. Klesha adhik, and you want adhik klesha? You understand adhik? Adhik means more. So lot of klesha, adhikatarastesham. Avyakta asakta chetasam. Your cheta, your mind can be asakta. Asakta means attached. Either to avyakta or to mayi asakta. To me, Bhagawan will say. Right? He has already said. So either you can be attached to avyakta or to Bhagavan. So in this one, he's saying avyakta asakta chetasam. If your mind is attached, asakta to avyakta, adhik klesha. Too many problems. Another, he says, gati kya hoti hai? What is his, the sort of the process or his destination? At least the temporary destination is avyakta hi gatir dukkham. Anybody wants dukkha here? No, nobody wants dukkha. But Bhagavan is saying avyakta hi gatir dukkham. There is a lot of dukkha. Deva vadbhir avapyate. That by those who are embodied. Are we all embodied? Or are you liberated? What Lord Krishna is saying is that this process is fast. You may be on path number B, path A. Dehavadbhir avapyate, which means the first leg. He is talking about the first leg. As long as you have a body. Jnani has a body. Yes. When you are in liberated, there is no body. So even if you are path B, the second half is fast. No problem. Very quick. But the first one, as long as you have body, which we all have, if you are following the path of jnana, then it is what? Klesha and dukkha. So I'm getting my warning signal to close the... Yeah. So are you following? Very clearly, Lord Krishna is saying which is superior and which one is to be avoided. There is no confusion. Lord Krishna is saying very clearly, this one is better. This one is also valid, but this one is full of troubles. It is valid, but troublesome. Same discussion we had long back. You want to go from ground floor to 100th floor. There is staircase, there is elevator. You can take staircase. By the time you reach 10th floor, you will begin to feel dukkha and klesha. By the time you reach 20th or 30th floor, you will face adhika klesha, adhika dukkha. But if you are in elevator, you can press the button and then the journey will be smooth and you can, listen to music and whatever else. Very quickly, very fast, you will reach the 100th floor. That is the difference. Okay. So very, very clearly Lord Krishna is describing. So we will stop here today and we will continue from 12.5 onwards. Please don't forget this discussion. Ideally, the section goes up to 12.7. 12.6 and 12.7, Lord Krishna will describe the ultimate superiority of bhakti and also how easy it is. Very easy. And that Krishna helps. He helps. He will carry you like an elevator carries you. You don't have to use your legs. You just have to stand. The elevator carries you up, right? So Krishna says, I will carry you. That is why it becomes easy. So all this will be covered. So please don't forget this discussion from this week. And please join next week for continuation of this. And we will go into the other sections of chapter 12. Okay?
Again at 6 p.m.
Again,
Many people joined at 6:30.
yeah, many people joined at 6:30. We have changed the time to half an hour early. So classes start at 6 p.m. Pacific time. All right. 6 p.m. Pacific, India time will be different. Basically half an hour earlier than before. All right. From now onwards, not just for this month, forever, till we complete Bhagavad Gita. The start time has permanently changed. The duration is only 1 hour for these few weeks. It will come back to 2-hour duration later. Okay. Any quick questions, anybody? Okay, thank you for letting me go. And this is Kartik month. Once again, very, very auspicious month. Please use this month to strengthen your spiritual progress, your bhakti, and offer a lamp to a ghee diya or deepak to Bhagawan Krishna in your house every day in this whole month of Kartik. Thank you very much. Srila Prabhupada ki
Jai.
jai. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Hare
Thank you,
Krishna.
Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Prabhuji.
Thank you.